Hello, welcome to JagaVision, episode 17. Starting to get up there. I wonder what it'll feel like to say episode 100. But it feels like we've done 100 episodes. Lots of trial and error as we've gone on, so hopefully sound is sounding better, that the visuals are better, the video, the everything. We're keep on working on it. I would appreciate your feedback as we amble along. Today we're going to have a pretty fascinating show. We're going to be talking with Mackie Sander. He has an Instagram account you should follow. Everybody should follow. It's at Mackie_TLife, which you can check out in the description of the video underneath the screen that you're watching right now. You can join us in the chat room if you want to ask any questions while we're live. We're more than happy to do so. And we're going to be joined by Sister Speak as well. So Sherry Ann, the lead vocalist of Sister Speak, she's just wrapping up her show. She does it every Thursday before JagaVision at 12 p.m. on her patreon.com/sisterspeak. If you want to check out which JagaVision teas or which teas we're going to feature on JagaVision, go to jagasilk.com and click in the web store or look on the top page for the information, and you'll find out what we're going to be doing this week, what we're going to be doing the following week, etc. And let us know if you have any questions. Buy some tea and drink along with us. Lots of fun. As I do at every show, I love to start the episodes with me sampling a tea I've never had before. So I got this really interesting sample from Mr. Yamaguchi in Wazuka, or was it Ujitawara? And he is doing essentially a, let me see. I got to get the scale to work. There we go. So Zairaishu is the Japanese name for heirloom. We're going to be doing a Zairaishu a little bit later as well with the guess. It'll be a crimson tea though. This is a green tea. So I always find that the crimson teas smell... Sorry, the Zairaishu always smell a little bit grassy. This one doesn't smell like it has much umami. There's a little bit more stem than I was expecting. Leaves look pretty decent though. Very unusual. This is not what you would want your tea leaves to look like if they were like more traditional, but from a perspective of trying to get some natural flavors from an heirloom cultivar, this makes a lot of sense. So for those of you watching who don't know what a cultivar is, it's just like the difference between different varieties of apples. Oh, just 1 second. It looks like we have a visitor. Randomly, my team was out of the shop for just the moment that somebody was knocking on the door, so sorry about that. But yeah, just gonna try that out. Okay. And then, but anybody who hasn't had Unity Gin should go check it out because they're amazing. And Sarah's here. You should go and look at the selections. I think in Victoria you can find them in most supermarkets. They also are lovely that they use our tea for their fermentations. Anyhow, Zairaishu, Yamaguchi, 6 grams. Let's go with 100 mils. I'm going to go with the brewing parameters that Takaki was doing down in Fukuoka. Really, I don't know if this is going to taste awesome. I'll be in touch with the farmer to see what he suggests. Standard for me for a sencha has always been 6 grams, 180 mils. So I'm using 80 mils less than I normally would. Standard for me has always been a minute. And we learned these standards at the tea school in Kyoto, actually in Uji City. So that would normally work for like a clonal, like a non-heirloom cultivar, something that you would be trying to get the same genetic genetic homogeneity. So like if I wanted a gala apple, I can't just take the seed of a gala apple, plant it in the soil, and expect a gala apple to appear. I need to graft it onto some dwarf stock, and then I can reproduce those same flavors that I want. With tea, they often will chop a little bit off of the top of the new growth, and then they'll plug that into the soil, and then it will grow roots, and you're able to reproduce that genetic homogeneity. If you plant from seed, though, that's not going to happen. You're going to get something random. Sometimes it's going to be great, sometimes it's not going to be so great. But that's how all tea was. And so what we're drinking right now is a good example of what tea was like historically, wherein they weren't necessarily everybody using, say for example in Japan, yabukita or okamidori are very, very common cultivars that are grown, and they're beautiful, but they're definitely not I don't want to say not unique, but you get what I mean. When I was working with the sencha Zairaishu from Mandokoro that my wife and I helped to harvest, we found that producing it or extracting it using common extraction methodologies, like that 180 mils over 6 grams for a minute at 70 degrees C, was just, well, to be honest, the farmer said it made it taste like horse piss, is what she said, so pardon my language. So we came up with a solution, which was to work with the tea until we could find a solution that was going to taste not so horrid. And we actually found a way to make it taste amazing. And that was to use 70 degrees centigrade water, 180 mils over 6 grams, but for 4 minutes. So by extending that extraction time, there was a big noticeable improvement in flavor. So I'll probably try that if this doesn't work. So this is the Takaki method. He likes to do, if you watched last week's episode, 50 mils over 3 grams for a minute and a half. And if it was like the Zairaishu, and obviously every Zairaishu is different, that I had in Mandokoro, this would be underwhelming. But this has some nice acidity. I actually think I could probably make this with a little bit more nice aromatics. Little too strong. So that's actually a good problem to have, because again, with the Mandokoro teas, I was experiencing something that was, not ideal in terms of flavor strength at a minute. So I'm just gonna post dilute to see if I can't bring out some more interesting flavor. So I have 52 grams in here. I'm gonna say that my goal was actually 180 mils. 180 mils, I did 100. So we're looking at a little over half. So I'm gonna just, instead of doubling it, I'm gonna be a little less than doubling it. So instead of 52 grams, 52 would be 104 if I wanted to double. I'm just gonna bring it up to 90, see what happens. So this isn't something you should normally do because you're not gonna get a proper extraction this way. But let's hope for the best. Okay. And that is lovely. That is really lovely. So there's a nice, gentle acidity. It's definitely has that umami, the richness. It's spicy, complex. Interesting, although mild smell in the cup. Alright, you can tell a lot about the quality of a tea actually from the aromatic in the cup. So, that's really interesting. I don't know why, because really I shouldn't be able to taste any similarities between the Zairaishu that I had from Mandokoro and the Zairaishu that I'm drinking now, because it's the nature of Zairaishu that it would be completely different from Zairaishu to Zairaishu. But I'm tasting some similarities. You know, it was interesting when I was researching the Mandokoro origin teas. There was a conversation about the root system developing in a way where it went quite deep, and this was to overcome sort of winter cold, potentially killing off the plants. And as a result of this deep root system, there was a lot of sugars in the leaves, or complex flavor dynamics that were possible to develop that you wouldn't otherwise see in a more standard cultivar, because they wouldn't have had to grow that deep to, you know, overcome the harsh winters. But this is not from the same region at all, and yet I'm tasting similar complexity of flavor that I had attributed to that in the past. Interesting. Pretty harsh green acidity in the finish, but it kind of just hits your tongue for a moment, and then it transforms into sort of like chewing on a really sweet asparagus. Yeah, that's really good. I think that it's interesting. I think when you stop tying yourself down to standard brewing parameters, when you don't just make the tea the way you've always made it, but when you adjust your brewing parameters to fit the needs of the tea, you find that there's just it's so much more interesting. You have a lot more positive experiences with tea, I think, when you're more experimental. And I've said this time and time again in JagaVision, is that we really find that adjusting the parameters to meet the needs of the tea, it just makes so much sense. And that means that the first time you ever have a tea is probably not going to be the best. The best is once you've really dialed it in for your palate. But when we're dialing things in for our company palate, we're really trying to get a nice balance of bitter, sweet, acid, some nice rich texture. We want to have a nice finish. We really want to have a complex interaction with the tea, for sure. Okay, so my guests are about to join us at 1:20. So we'll see how that develops. I'm just going to go and give them another ring and see if that can't get them on. So just you'll have to bear with me as I do this. So, and then invite Mackie and see what happens. So, while we're waiting for them, might as well do another extraction. Oh, I love my spelling on the chat there. I said, see you in a moment, turned into see you in a Monet. Whatever that means. Okay. So I did 1.5 minutes with, I'm going to try, oh, there we go. Okay, looks like we have one of our guests has joined us. Is that you, Mackie?
Yeah, that's me. How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. Okay, hold on 1 second here. All right, I'm going to turn you down a little bit.
Oh, I can do that over here.
You're quite bassy. Do you have a way of controlling that at all on your end?
Is it just my voice?
It might be just your voice. Okay, that works out. That's okay. That's awesome. Right? Yeah, no, we're good. We're in a good place. Okay, awesome. Cool. Well, welcome to the show, though. Welcome to JagaVision.
Thanks, man.
Really,
glad to be here.
Really appreciate you coming on. I like to start the show by enjoying a tea that I've never had before, which is always an interesting experience, because 9 times out of 10 it doesn't taste very good because I've messed up somewhere. But it's nice to to get the sense of the possibilities of the tea, and then adjust it for the second try, which is generally a lot better than the first try. So, but I did a sencha Zairaishu from Wazuka, so it's like a there's mostly cultivars are grown in, like clonal cultivars are grown in Japan, and this one was a heirloom cultivar, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, so it's fun. But just you want to tell the audience a little bit about what you're up to with Maki Tea Life?
Yeah, I'm just like a hobbyist, really. I mean, obviously, I'm not in the industry. I've been drinking tea for about 5 years now, and if you can see any of this behind me, I have a lot of teaware.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, just I love tea. I have it every day, and doing a lot of tea photography as well.
Yeah, you have some beautiful photos, and you were going to, as part of your sort of non-industry involvement in the tea sort of world, the Victoria Tea Festival that Jaga Silk is really heavily involved in. You were going to have a teapot museum.
Yeah.
And we were pretty excited about that, I remember. And then COVID happened, and everything had to be put on pause. But that was just seeing just a little glimpse of your teaware was pretty exciting for me. I was like, this is cool. And
yeah, well, hopefully we'll get it done at some point.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. We're gonna have to make it happen. You know, it might be 2021. We're still talking about what it would look like if we did have it this year. I think it's pretty unlikely, just because things seem to going in a bad direction rather than a good direction right now. With
Yeah.
Oh, and looks like we're joined by Sherry-Ann from Sister Speak. Just joined the call.
Hello.
Sherry-Ann, we have Maki here. He has an Instagram account called @MakiTeaLife.
Cool.
And he's a tea hobbyist. So he's, rather than we've had a number of people on the show that have been industry, and but what's really cool about Maki, in my opinion, other than his beautiful photos and amazing teas that he's shared with me every once in a while, is his immense collection of teapots. Yeah, so it's pretty
Wow.
fun.
Yeah. Working on it.
Yeah. So you want to so right behind him is actually all that's all teaware that he was just showing to the audience. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
I have a one teapot. I have only two.
Oh yeah.
1, 2.
Oh, big guys.
There you go. Okay. You know, ideally, unfinished clay is going to be really helpful for today. But I figured. Oh, and Maki, just explain what he's up to a little bit to the viewers. But Sherry-Ann, just so you know, Maki, Sister Speak is a music project. She is on her own live performance before the JagaVision shows every Thursday at 12. Touring musician who we have been tea sponsors for 6-7 years. There's a bit of nepotism happening too, is that she is my sister. So there's that too.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Good to meet you.
Yeah. So she's on the show every week.
It's been really fun.
So
Gets me out of bed.
yeah. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, she calls 11 a.m. the musician's morning. So
I get that.
yeah, you get that.
Time to get up.
Excellent. So so you want to I actually got you on the show here, Maki, because of the Teapot Museum concept for the tea festival that we were discussing, but also recently I was reading some literature talking about water that was, and it was information that was sort of shared with me by the owner of Johnny Bean in Lethbridge. But it got me really excited about understanding how not just how water content affects extraction, but also how minerals and the composition of the total dissolved solids in your water affects flavor. And then I got thinking about teapots and about how teapots have, like, especially when they're unfinished on the inside, when there's no glaze, there's going to definitely be a reaction with the water that's gonna impact how flavors are extracted from our teas. And dug a little bit deeper, and I didn't know this, but this is, for example, this is tokonomiyaki, okay? And to get this design, they actually wrap a piece of kelp around it in the kiln, and then you get this really beautiful design. But also the clay on the inside, if it was a true tokonomiyaki, would actually have a lot of similarities to the clay that you would find in an Ishin teapot. And that's why in the late 1800s, this region in Aichi got really popular. So as soon as I was reading this literature, I was like, oh, Maki, we got to talk about this.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing my teapot out here.
Okay.
I'm just using, this is actually the first teapot that I ever bought, and I started using it for black tea immediately, and it's been about 3 years now, so it's got a good bit of give back now, like.
Okay. Can you, is that purple clay? I can't quite see it. Do you want to show it up to the camera?
Yeah, sorry. It's, here, put the lid back on. It's a diamond clay.
Okay.
Oh,
I don't know how
nice.
that translates. But,
Oh, that's beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah. And so you found that after, when did you find that you were starting to get a little bit more impact from the clay into the tea extraction? How long did that
When
take?
I first bought it, like, I didn't really know anything about teapots. Obviously, it was my first pot, and I was drinking a lot of black tea at the time, so I just started using it for black tea right away. And I think, looking back on it now, that it was a really bad choice to actually use it for black tea, because it was really bad at first. It took like probably 20 sessions for it to just be like as good as a guy one, or at least mediocre, like good enough. And
Right.
probably about a year or two before it really started to feel like it was worth the wait. And
Yeah.
it's amazing, you know.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, that's interesting. So 20 sessions is what really helped to sort of break in the teapot, and you feel that a part of that is because it wasn't meant for black tea, aka crimson tea extraction. And is there have you found that teapots that are meant for a particular tea have that immediate give back where they're
So-
immediately making your teas taste really good?
Absolutely, and that's something that I found out like 3 or 4 pots into my collection. That, like, it doesn't matter like the first few sessions that you have with the tea, because it takes so long to develop any of those flavors. So if you want to go through every kind of tea,
Good for parched green teas. This pot is good for Japanese greens, etc. Is that what that is something that you're finding?
I think like mostly with how dense it feels like it is. Like if you feel like you can feel some of the texture, it's going to be probably better with the darker tea, and vice versa. Like this pot is quite a bit more rough, like on the inside and outside. If you rub your hand on it, you can kind of feel some of the texture, and those are typically going to be muting more of the kind of bitterness and some of the aromas even as well.
That's interesting. Do you find
Yeah.
are they so some pots are obviously going to be better for thermal stability. Some pots are going to be like you want them to sweat and release a little bit of that heat and that moisture, because that's actually going to be better for the extraction. And you're going to find that some pots are going to be maybe it's just the composition of the clay itself that's going to be
Clay
impacted.
composition is really important. Yeah. I found that like a lot of my teapots that are not as good quality, it's really hard to find something that actually works with, and some of them that seem like they're more expensive, better quality ones, typically you can pretty much use them for anything and they'll do a good job.
So what is
It's interesting, I think, because I
Sorry, keep
don't
going.
know where that comes from.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it has something to do with, and I'm sure that there's people who are going to be watching this video that hopefully can comment even in the archive version. But I want to understand that role that, again, magnesium and calcium plays, and or what is it, the components in the clay that are gonna play that role. You know, something really interesting that in this research was that you can find, like, say, the clay for an Ishin teapot, and you could actually analyze it, and you could figure out what that mineral composition is. And technically, a scientist could mix minerals together to get an exact replica of the mineral composition, and you could fire that clay. But the word on the street is, and this could just be placebo, I don't know, because I want to know if this would be true live, is that those minerals will actually melt at a lower temperature than if they already existed in the clay for a long time. I don't know if there's like a relationship between how long that clay has existed and how it interacts with heat. But I'm sure there's just something we don't understand about clay that's doing this. But as soon as you glaze the inside of the teapot, it becomes good for food service because there's less opportunity for bacteria to lodge in the walls. But then it's like working with glass, right? You have a very like there's no impact on the tea, which is sometimes what you want, right? But yeah, sorry, I'm talking about two things here. One is kind of like a fake clay. Do you have any? And I guess my question for you, Mackie, would be, how do you discern what is a good teapot versus a bad teapot? How do you like buy? You get say an expensive teapot, and is the proof in the pudding? You make a tea that you know is going to be good, and then it tastes like crap, and you blame the teapot. Like,
it's really hard for me to say. Like, it's easy to tell when a teapot's bad because if you brew it with everything and it tastes terrible, I mean, what are you even doing with it? What's the point?
Yeah.
Part of it's like aesthetics, part of it's how it feels, like intuition. Like if I look at this teapot, I feel like this is a good teapot. I don't know why, but and also, I mean, obviously how it brews is the most important part, and that's just for me putting it through tests, like trying everything I can with it and seeing what it does compared to what I know those teas would taste like in a gaiwan, or in just basic porcelain, something like that.
Do you ever do side-by-sides where you do like exact same brew parameters and you just compare them pot to pot to pot, and then you find which flavor dynamics are pulling out that are really interesting to you? Or is this a very linear experiment that you do?
I do it linearly now. I used to do it side-by-side sometimes, but I just found that like everything was kind of mixing together in my brain more when I did it that way, and like if I do it session by session, I find that I can tell the differences better somehow.
Yeah,
just weird, I guess. But,
yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. So you just like kind of, I guess that means that intuition and sort of where your palate is that day is definitely going to play a role, but arguably doing the side by side, like you're saying, you can get palate fatigue, right? Where things just sort of mix up and you have no idea what it is that you're tasting anymore. Was it that first teapot's extraction that messed your tongue to be able to understand the second teapot's extraction, or what, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, if you're gonna have a teapot anyway, like you already own it, you're just gonna keep brewing with it over and over, and eventually you'll learn to understand what it does, even if it's not immediate. Like, for assessing one that you're gonna buy, it's a lot harder because you just kind of need to trust the place that you're getting it from, I guess. That's typically what I've done in the past, but
yeah, and I've had some really good conversations with the owner of the Chinese tea shop in.
Yeah, that's where I got this pot.
Oh, really? Okay, amazing.
Yeah,
and he's like a master of pu'er in my head. He was introduced to me by Pedro at 05. He said, you got to check this guy out. Was it Daniel? Is his name?
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, and I remember sitting down with him now a number of times and having just an incredibly long session of multiple selections of pu'ers. He sold me some beautiful cakes. His pu'er cakes are fantastic, and I've kind of been attracted to. He once showed me his $27,000 Yixing teapot, and I was like,
$27,000.
Oh my god.
So
that's not in my price, right?
Yeah, you're just saving up for that one.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
So what do you think, from your experience? What do you think would make like when you obviously you look at it and it's the feeling and stuff, but is there sort of like are you looking for, like, I one of the things you said in your post about the museum that I thought was hilarious and so accurate, or so funny, but like I agree so wholeheartedly, as you were like, I want to be there so I can convince more people to drink tea out of small teapots, right?
Yeah.
And I think our viewers will notice that Mackie has a large collection of teapots, but they're all quite small. What is it about, like if I wanted to use a little tiny teapot versus a very large teapot, let's go down to basics here. You okay? Why would I want to work with less volume of water, in your opinion?
There's a couple reasons. First is like, when we're drinking a session of tea, we're gonna be steeping it a bunch of times. If you have more water in it, I mean, more leaves in the pot to water, like your session's gonna last longer. Each individual steep is gonna taste like different to the last one, and you're gonna sort of, get like a cross section of each point in the session, and it's a lot more interesting to drink that way, right? Because you just get like this kind of taste, this sort of taste, and then they kind of give you the whole picture of the tea. And second of all, I think it's because it cools down a lot quicker, so you're gonna like, after you pour it out, you're gonna have like this much tea, and then pour it into your cup. It's gonna be cool. Like 20 seconds later, you can drink it right away, and that's pretty much why I think.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I tell people if you're really going to experience a tea with 11, 12 infusions, it's a lot less bathroom breaks.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, and I guess also I think what you're bringing up there too is just the overall cost too, right? Like if you want to properly extract flavor in a large teapot, just if you think about the ratio of water to tea that you're going to have to achieve similar results as you would out of a tiny teapot like you're working with there, it's a lot of leaf, right?
Yeah, exactly. It just comes down to the ratio of water to leaf, I think. You get like a better body and really nice textures when you do more leaf to water, and that's why we have the small teapots, really.
Yeah, it makes sense. Have you ever experienced where you used exactly the same ratio between, say, like, let's move away from clay for a moment, but say like a glazed teapot on the inside or a glass teapot? Have you experienced a difference in flavor when you purely increase volume, even though you've matched that increase in volume with an increase in leaf size or leaf weight?
Yeah, a little bit. I think here I have like this little teeny tiny guy one, and this one is about twice the size. And, these two I use quite often, and I'll find that this little one, it obviously is going to cool down really quickly in here when you're brewing it.
Yeah.
And I find that gives a little bit of a lighter, kind of brighter feeling, and you'll get a little bit better body in this one, a little bit more textures. But it's not a huge difference. It's like pretty similar. I mean, if you're using a teapot, you're going to get a completely different thing going on.
Okay. Interesting.
So
I have some.
And that's really just the size, right? I wonder how.
Yeah, I mean the shape as well, probably, but I don't know how much that affects it.
You know, we've done empirical tests of like straight up and down versus bulbous shapes, and bulbous shapes are just so much better for flavor extraction that we found anecdotally on our side, just when we've done sort of blind comparisons of just shapes of extraction vessels, which has been interesting. Sorry, you were gonna say, Sister Speak? Yes.
Oh, I was gonna say, could this be like a teapot? I found this whole set. It has like a little lid like this. Could it be like act like a teapot?
I can't really see. Oh, how do I make you bigger?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like it's this little cup here, and then it has a little lid.
Can you show us the inside?
See?
I think that's meant to be a cup. I've never seen something like that with that kind
It's
of.
just it's just a cup, and it has a bottom tray that comes with it, and they all have these little cups that go on top, like these little lids.
I don't think you could use it like a gaiwan because it's not going to pour very easily out of the side, but you might be able to.
Right.
But because normally how a gaiwan works is that the lid fits into the fluted base. You want to show us the gaiwan there a little bit closer, Maki?
Yeah, here you have like the lid kind of sitting inside of it like that, so you can pour it out that way.
That being said, you can brew in just about anything. If you have a cup, 2 cups in a sieve, you can definitely just pick up the cup and you can just pour through a sieve into another cup. You don't have to, this is really important, at least from Jaga Silk's perspective, is we like to tell everybody that, like, don't limit yourself from having a cup of tea because you don't have the right tools. If you just have 2 cups in a sieve, you're going to be okay,
This works. I mean, I do still use the mason jar and just a sieve a lot, and then I pour it into this big teapot. But I can't brew in this big teapot because I used to, and everything was super watered down.
Yeah, it's because it's this brew ratio. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. They were just like, now I know why.
Yeah. So if we're but don't not use that cup. You can brew in it for sure. But
I would even just leave the leaves in there and just drink right out of it, like grandpa style.
Yeah, there you go.
And do another stuff.
Did you call it grandpa
How do you
style? That's
clean-
awesome.
Yeah, grandpa.
Okay.
How do you
Farmer
clean
style.
it? Look, I have this little thing here. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's like a
And, it's-
Kyusu
it's
style.
Yeah, but how do I clean it? Like, it always seems like the leaves get kind of stuck and a little bit in the holes and stuff.
You want to keep going, Maki? You take over here. Sorry, yeah.
It out usually takes is just pouring some water in the spout or in the other side and just get it out with your finger. Usually, I don't like for these unglazed pots. You don't want to use soap or anything with them, so all I do is rinse them out. But that one is like glazed. You can probably use soap for that.
Yeah, I use glazed, yeah.
Yeah, so just get, I don't know, just pour water through as well as you can. Try and get those leaves out of there.
Okay.
And if they don't, they'll just dry up eventually, and you can just pull them out.
Okay, that's true. That's a good call. Thank you.
I often just put water in from the nose side to blow the tea back, because sometimes it's just stuck and I just can't get it out even though I'm right.
Yeah.
And so I'll just fill, like, for example, this guy, which is similar style as what you have there, Cher, is I'll just fill water from the end here sometimes just to push the water away from the filter. And I think, what is your thoughts on the filter being built into the teapot that's, you know, it's not made out of clay, that's made out of metal?
Oh, do you have one of those in that pot?
In the one that I have, and a lot of Japanese ones are built this way.
Oh, yeah,
you
it's like the really fine mesh one.
There's a fine mesh on the inside. Can you see that okay? I'm going to show you,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to show the audience.
Yeah, those are usually fine. I only have one pot with that, and it's not my best pot, so I don't really have much experience with that.
Okay.
But
This is
I've
my
never heard
this is
anything
my
wrong with
favorite teapot for making Japanese teas.
yeah, that's a super Japanese thing to do that as well.
And I love how the filter is a little bit back from the nozzle here, and I find that also just I know you're not meant to pour it one-handed, but I love that you can.
You're not meant to pour those one hand?
No, I know. Apparently the nice manners is to pour it with your finger on the lid like that.
Oh,
And
I bought this one in China, and they told me that I'm supposed to pour it like with my two fingers here and my thumb right there.
amazing. Okay, yeah, I love it.
It's a little bit shorter, so.
That makes sense. And a Japanese style big feature of that is they often, because they are expecting you to put your finger on the lid, they put the hole for the pressure release on to the side of the top. And I've noticed in a lot of Chinese pots that that it's in the very
Yeah.
top of the knob there.
It's usually in the hole, yeah, in the knob, yeah.
I wonder how much of that is for aesthetics. Like if I go like this, sometimes the liquid doesn't even come out at all, so I have to put my finger a little bit forward. Is there a better technique for pouring out of a little guy like this? Should I be doing something like that, or
I usually do it like this, and just put my finger right at the edge of this or right here,
okay?
and
So
then
like that?
just pour it like that.
Like that?
Yeah, just keeping the finger like not over the hole, obviously.
Of course.
You
Yeah, to the
get
side,
used to it pretty quickly, yeah.
or I guess you could even no, you can't push it forward. Huh. That's cool.
You honestly don't really even need to touch the lid most of the time. If the pot's like properly built, it won't really come out.
Amazing, but probably mine is not that way. I often one of my favorite things to do is I love this filter here. It's one of those ones you see used a lot in Taiwan.
Oh yeah.
And I know that a lot of people just don't even go near stainless steel filters, but I find they're really useful for me in food service. And then I love how I can just leave it there like that.
Yeah, I can do that.
Like a yoga.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Awesome.
Yoga pose.
Yeah, awesome. I figured though, guys, we could boil up some water. I saw you doing that a little bit early there, Maki. Sorry we didn't get right to it. But Sherry-Ann, you want to make sure your water is boiling?
Yes.
Awesome. And then I figured we could make some tea. So this is what I have in mind, Maki, is that we can make this tea the way that I've kind of dialed it in. And then what I'd love you to do is let's do a comparison. So I've asked Sherry-Ann to find a couple teapots if she can, something ideally that's unfinished on the inside. But even if you don't have that, even just like a difference in the thickness of the wall of the product. So like for example, the mason jar versus that little cup that you have. Those are going to be different brewing environments. Okay. So,
should I use this teapot though?
yeah, we're going to make the same tea 3 times. So we're going to do one is going to be this way that I've kind of dialed it in. The second and the third
Okay.
time, Maki, I'd really like you to take over and share with us how you would test out the extraction using your methodology, okay?
All right, for sure.
Okay, cool. So this first one, let's try and make sure you have enough room for 180 mils, or you can reduce the amount of tea you use to fit the teapot that you're working with. So I do 3 grams for every 180 mils.
Okay. I gotta get this package open.
You could do 1.5 grams for 90 mils, however you want to roll. And then I'm going to brew this in glass.
Should I brew it in glass too? I got some glass here.
Sure, why not? And then we'll have a kind of a you can see where I'm coming from with this tea. And then we can
What was your
compare.
measurement recommendation? Sorry.
3 grams of tea and
Yes.
180 grams of boiling water. And we're gonna be extracting for 4 minutes.
Okay. And we're gonna do this in a glass jar first.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Okay. So apparently there's a little bit of a sound quality issue that I'm learning about. Do you guys mind just saying the word test for a moment?
Test.
Test.
Test. Okay. All right. I think we're okay. There's an issue with the with my voice sounding really muffled. So I've moved my microphone. Hopefully it sounds a little bit better. We'll get some feedback in a little bit. Okay. So I've set my timer for 4 minutes, and going to add the water now on my end. You have a timer there, Sherry-Ann?
I'm adding it right now with you.
Okay, awesome. All right. And you'll notice I want to talk about these leaves just for a moment. I know we're focusing a lot today on the teapot, but these leaves are pretty special to me. You and I went to Mandokoro, which is in Shiga province in prefecture in Japan last year, and we actually participated in hand harvesting these leaves. And so we got a chance to go out onto the tea garden. That particular area has been producing tea for over 400 years, which in the timeline for say Chinese teas it's not that long, but for Japanese teas that's a pretty solid amount of time. And they're even longer actually, more like 500. And the area is named after the wife of one of the unifiers of Japan. And they're famous, that village is famous for making tea for her that she loved, and her name was Kitano Mandokoro. But this is from the village of Mandokoro. We visited them. Some of the youngest people in the village are in their early 70s. It's a village that is gradually, most of the young people have left. You don't have a lot of people carrying on the work of the farmers before them, which is quite sad. But the Kawakamis are really actively involved in trying to revitalize this community. They're working with Zairaishu, so heirloom cultivars. They tried to plant clonals in the village, but the snow gets up to 2 meters, and it crushes the tea plants, and they die. But the Zairaishu, the heirloom cultivars that grow there, they do flatten in that 2 meter snow, but once the snow melts, they actually spring back to life. And every 40 to 60 years, they cut the leaves right down close to the rootstock, and then they grow from the same rootstock up into new leaves. And the story is that the snow and cold forces the leaves, the tea bushes, to focus a lot of their sugars, etc., into the root system really deep down. And then when they come into the spring harvest, they're pulling lots of mineral, lots of really interesting flavor dynamics get added to these leaves as a result of those growing conditions, and found this whole process really interesting. And then recently, the husband, Mr. Kawakami, got really into making crimson teas, and so we got to actually go with him and put the leaves onto like a raised bed that he uses like an old analog scale, and he measured like the basket of tea leaves before he started and then afterwards, and he figured out what his percentage of loss was, and then he puts it through like a hand rolling machine, and this is the only mechanized part of the process. And then he puts it into a fermentation room, and he lets it wither until it loses, it's about 4 hours at 20 degrees centigrade. And then he puts it into an oven system, and he measures the temperature of the unit and then the temperature of the leaves. And he's been working on building a really consistent roast curve from year to year. And the end product is this that we're drinking. So it was really fascinating to go from harvest all the way through the finished product. So, yeah, that's the Koucha Zairaishu, my little commercial.
That's so cool.
So, but yeah, it's really special to us. So I hope that this will do good things. So we're going to be ready in about 25 seconds to drink it. But before we do that, maybe you guys want to give it a little smell as it's extracting.
Oh yeah, not supposed to shake it, right?
Don't shake, yeah.
Wow.
Doesn't that smell amazing?
Like, smells very familiar, like a Fujian black tea.
There's like a citrus quality to it, I find.
Yes, really nice.
Chocolate. Yeah, I'm really, really impressed. Okay, so let's extract that. Okay. And then it's nice if we can get that last golden drop. And just so the viewers get a chance to check out the quality of the leaves that we're working with a bit here. The Japanese tea making system, or like sort of the norm, is to cut leaves to a very uniform length, which I always find to be a little bit unfortunate because you lose, I think, some flavor complexity. You do need to adjust brewing parameters then to fit the needs of the tea, which I think is a good thing. But in Japan, everybody's generally making the tea the same way regardless of the tea. So they need to kind of try and find some sort of production uniformity to be able to sell their tea. Okay. So maybe give that a smell again. There's that nice malt aromatic.
Oh, definitely smell the malt.
What are we getting out of this, Mackie, Cheyenne?
I definitely can sense that malt you just spoke of, and
yeah, pretty malty.
What is it about the smell that reminded you of a Fujian?
I smelled the gaiwan lid, and it had that like lingering fruity honeyed sweetness that like will be at the bottom of the cup at the end of the sip, I think. That's super familiar. I love that smell.
I love smelling an empty cup when I'm done drinking. It's
Me too.
one of the best.
Isn't smell a funny word?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's okay as a verb, but I'm less comfortable with it as a noun. Yeah, love that smell.
Synonyms. What are the synonyms? Let's come up with 10 synonyms.
No, we normally would use aromatic or wet fragrance is a common cupping term for the wet aromatic, and then you say dry aroma for the dry leaves.
Aroma, scent. Just
I don't know how.
silly,
I don't know how that's tasting in your guys' water there, but I'm tasting like a little bit of gentle acid, but I get a nice like sweetness running along the sides of my tongue.
Mine kind of lost its sweetness somehow.
Yeah, it's really sweet. There's like almost like a toasted rice kind of thing at the end.
Huh. Okay.
For me.
Oh, yours lost its sweetness, Cheyenne?
Yeah, I'm not getting sweetness much at all, actually, in mine.
Is it overly acidic?
A little bit.
Interesting. Okay. Why don't you try doing a slight amount of post dilution, like maybe 15 mils?
Okay. Let me just sip it down a little.
And then that can help reduce the acidity. It does have the unfortunate result of also diluting all the other flavors, but it can help you taste a little bit more complexity through dilution if you do it in a controlled manner.
Okay. I just added about that.
Hopefully that tastes
Maybe
better.
I'll mix it.
I really like this texture. Like a really
Yeah, I
nice.
like the texture.
How
I
it
feel like I did something differently though, because usually it's a little sweeter, you know.
Yeah, it could also be just the leaves that you worked with are more broken up.
Ah.
Can you show me the leaves that you're working with? Okay.
In the mason
It's
jar?
hard for me to see that way, but maybe some dry leaf.
Oh, sorry. The Can you see it in here? No, it's all black. Oh my
Sorry.
gosh. Let's see. I'll put some on here.
Okay.
Oh no. Can you see them or no?
Okay. Okay. It's really hard to see, but I've seen black silhouettes.
I don't know.
Well, why don't we do this? We can't really see on your camera there very well, but when I
How about now?
Oh, that's better.
yeah, that's way better. I can see that. Yeah, okay, that looks good. Okay. Yeah, I think we're doing okay. I like that.
Maybe I'm just used to brewing it for a less amount of time.
Yeah, you could do like a 3.5 minute steep. I tried doing that and it just was lacking in body when I did it before.
Okay.
I like that way of showing it. I'm going to show my viewers this way. There you go. Yeah, very nice leaves. Yeah, and it's really interesting here is you'll notice here, Maki, that the tea leaves themselves aren't in bud sets. In Mandokoro, they purposefully don't pick 2 leaves in a bud. Like, it's actually the picking style.
Oh, that's weird.
The picking style in Mandokoro from like the traditional picking style is to grab the lower part of the leaf and strip the young leaves off, but not to strip the older leaves. So there's like a technique for that, and they just so it's just like grab, which is very interesting from very different from the standard like pluck, right?
Yeah.
So
It still tastes incredible. It's just not as sweet as
you're used to. I'm tasting a lot of chocolatey sweetness, malt, sort of something
maybe
fruity.
it wasn't hot enough. Maybe my water wasn't hot enough because I'm in the Okanagan.
It's possible. Yeah, actually, that would play a role.
It's still delicious. It's just like it's very like full-bodied still, and it's really nice.
That's good to hear.
It's just a really silky texture, and then it's like super stringy at the end. I'm really liking that.
Yeah, this one was very impressive. The next infusion I'd love to do with you guys, though, is going to be guided by Maki here. Maki, what should we be doing for our next infusion?
Are we done with this one?
We're not. We're gonna put it to the side. I don't want to say we're done with it. I feel like it's a waste to not come back to it. But let's just kind of as much as you would normally drink your teas linearly, and as much as we're probably gonna just muddle our palates and not really understand what we're drinking.
Okay.
Let's see.
I'll make a nice tea with it.
Okay, amazing. You do that. I
Always.
think the mix. So, would you even with this tea, would you rinse it? Like, what are we gonna do? I'm gonna use this little tiny guy. This just so you get a sense of what it holds. It holds. I remember it holding 90 grams, but I'm just gonna double check. Oh, even more. Bigger than I thought. So if I fill it pretty close to the top, I'm looking at 120 grams. That's how big that teapot is.
Okay, that's pretty similar to mine. Mine's about 140.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's around there.
I usually do 5 or 6 grams.
Five. Okay, so 5 or 6 grams. And Sherry-Ann, you want to weigh out how much fits into your smallest cup there, then maybe, and then you can join us for this.
Yeah. I'm about the same.
You're about the same.
120.
I'm missing. Hold on.
So should I? How many? Sorry, you said 5 grams of tea.
Yeah, I do about 5 grams.
Okay.
Maki, I'm as much as I am a big tea enthusiast, I'm also a coffee enthusiast, and This is from an AeroPress, and they're useless for most people, but they're so great as a funnel for going into little tiny teapots.
Oh yeah.
They're the best thing. So
Whatever works.
yeah. So what am I doing? I'm doing. You said 5 or 6 grams.
I'd probably do about 5 for you, so I'm gonna do maybe 5.5. Mine's a little bit bigger.
Okay.
And then to 120 milliliters.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good ratio.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. And then are we doing 100 degrees C?
Yeah, just boiling it.
Okay. So in Cherian is in Vernon, so her temperature is going to be probably around 96 or 97 because of the difference in elevation.
Mm-hmm.
Two.
And am I doing a rinse or what do I do next?
I usually do a rinse. I would heat the teapot. I think you already did that.
Yes.
Sort of.
Yeah, when I was weighing out how much fits.
Yeah. And
I'll double check I have enough water for this brew. Don't quite. Give me a sec.
I'm just keeping boiling mine. I'm gonna time mine with yours again.
Okay. And I understand you moved recently, right?
yeah, I'm back in my family's place, back at home.
Nice. Okay. Are you finding that the water is better or worse than where you were?
The tap water was a little bit worse. I found the tap water in Victoria pretty doable, but not here.
Okay.
But we have like this local spring in Lynn Valley that I would actually go and harvest water from before. That was like closed during COVID, but they just opened up again, and so I'm using our local spring water again.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
And so you're finding the spring water makes a big difference for
It's
your.
huge. It's so much better.
So,
Yeah.
do you ever, if you're traveling and you're in a spot, is there any water that you would seek out? Do you choose bottled water ever, or you just like to try the local water and see what happens, kind of thing?
I've never really used bottled water much. I think I tried it once or twice, and I found it like a little disappointing actually. But I didn't like. It wasn't any fancy on it. It was just like whatever.
Just a regular
Yeah,
water, and
yeah.
you just checked it out. So you're more prone to just try and work with what you can achieve locally, and
Yeah, like I'd use filtered water if I didn't have any other options.
Okay. And you're a little bit of a traveler, I think, unless I remember incorrectly.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and you like to, when you do travel, do you bring a filtration system with you, or do you just?
I figure when I'm on the road, it's not as big of a deal. I just kind of, like when I went on a road trip a little while ago, and like actually a year or two ago, and I brought like my spring water thing, just to bring water anyways, right? And but last time I just was using like, we had like a camper, and we got the water from like whatever places you get the tap water basically from, and I was just using that just to brew grandpa style, just my daily teas. It works, you know.
Sip on it with the
Was
lead.
that-
I'm just not
Was
brewing
that
anything
most-
fancy, you know.
Was that mostly in Canada, or was that in other countries as well?
Yeah, that was in Canada, mostly like in the Rockies recently. Yeah,
The water's amazing up there.
yeah. I have like a little filter water that I bring on my hikes, like a little filter bottle that like has a filter inside of it, and you just fill it up with all the rivers, and you just drink your water on your hikes. It's awesome.
Nice.
I have this too. It's like a life straw thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the same as what I have. Yeah, those are awesome.
Oh, cool. And it's so awesome. I will say, tap water in California for tea does not taste very good.
Oh, that's too bad. That's
Unless you're on Palomar Mountain, then it's amazing.
okay. So like the water.
Palomar Mountain and Ventura. No, yeah, Ventura has okay water, but Palomar Mountain, and probably if you're like in Yosemite or something, or Mammoth, you get too.
Interesting. Okay, so this conversation that I kind of touched on before we started talking about teapots, when I was talking a little bit more about water, and this was apparently bicarbonate, sodium bicarbonate, lots of different bicarbonates out there, acts as a buffer on acidity. So if you don't have any bicarbonate, your water will always taste, your tea or whatever you're extracting, if there's acid in it, will like be very amplified. And having a little bit of buffer in the water, which you achieve in the Rockies because of where the water comes from, it goes over Josh Hawken was talking about this in a previous JagaVision, how the water ends up being like very under acidic, like it's washed out because there's too much buffer, and so you don't have full flavor structure. So teas that would otherwise taste very acidic end up tasting very mellow, which can be a good thing, but can be a bad thing. And a lot of farmers will talk about how, like even the Mandokoro people, they were very concerned about Jaga Silk bringing their tea to Canada without tasting it, because they're like, it tastes really good here, but there's even places in Japan where they're really unhappy with it. So a lot of the building up to the relationship where we could bring some tea with us to Canada took about 2 or 3 years of visiting them and making tea for them until they were happy with what we were doing. So,
oh my god. Yeah. Have you started the steep yet?
Oh, no, we haven't. Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Just making sure everybody's water is ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, I just finished boiling. Okay, I'm ready.
I got too.
I don't have the leaves in my pot yet. I'm just going to put them in there now.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to just give it a little smell. It's really nice.
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah. What are you guys smelling?
Berries?
I get some
berries.
And cinnamon, and a blackberry.
Yeah.
That's just something that we're never going to taste otherwise.
Yeah. Oh, that's
fall.
Fascinating.
I smell a little bit of fall.
Fall? Awesome. Yeah, like the fallen leaves. I actually think like when you're walking through a wood, and that kind of like that not forest smell, but like the dried leaves that you're stepping on smell.
Yeah, almost like it's about to be winter.
That's cool. And you were telling me don't rinse these, just drink the first extraction?
I'm gonna rinse it real quick, just like a 2-second steep.
Okay. So should I cover the leaves completely for my rinse, or are you just
cover all the leaves and then cover much of the pot.
Okay. So cover the leaves, and then do you remember this, Cheyenne, from before, as we did the rinse on one of the oolongs? It's just basically 2 seconds of hot water touching the leaves.
I did that. I just did it.
Maki, do you find that it is even necessary to preheat your teapot if you're going to be rinsing the leaves anyways?
That's a good question. I like smelling the warm leaves in the pot. That's most of the reason that I do the rinsing.
That makes sense.
Rinsing the pot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Probably not necessary otherwise.
Oh wow, eh? Even now, like I love that smell. Okay.
Me too.
So am I filling to my 140 that can fit in this pot?
Yeah, it fills the top.
Okay.
Just a few seconds again. Basically the same as the rinse. Maybe a few seconds longer.
A few seconds longer. So you tell me when. I'm still filling. Basically, as soon as I'm done filling, I should...
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I thought mine was 120, but it's 106.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah. You're going to be fine. Okay.
Thank you for the encouragement.
That's clean. I'm used to Japanese teas being having a lot of sediment in the extraction. So whenever I use a ceramic filter.
Sorry, how long am I steeping it for?
Like really quick, like 2 seconds, 5 seconds.
Oh, the whole thing after the rinse too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, I oversteeping. Definitely oversteeping. Oh, ouch. This isn't the best device. You're right. It doesn't pour very easily.
It's all good.
So then you make multiple steeps for just like a few seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Probably steeps like 8, 9 times maybe. I don't know.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Another thing I should mention about this tea, guys, is that the village of Mandokoro, because of the Kawakamis, is pretty hardcore organic. So we have we're gonna be drinking a tea here that's been grown without any like weird laboratory fertilizers or sprays. Oh, that smells great.
Oh, you know what? I tasted the rinse.
Yeah.
Is it good?
Because that's the one I steep for like 2 seconds, and it tastes really good and sweet.
Yeah.
And then I steep the next one for like 15 seconds by accident,
and
it's quite astringent.
Yeah, that'll happen.
So that's my fault. I messed up.
Oh, Mackie, that tastes amazing. Yeah, it's a
Wow.
you get like it's actually a very like there's a certain duality to the flavor. Like I feel like it does like a wash of thin, thick texture, like a wave over my tongue. And then there's a very much a focus on the sweetness. I imagine that the second, third infusions are going to be really interesting. This one is lacking in acid, for sure, but that's just part of the process of drinking this way, right?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I do? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries.
What's up?
Oh, I just wondered if you mind if I do one more, like 3 seconds deep.
Yeah, go for it. Steve, too.
Asking permission. Is it okay?
Nice.
No,
Yeah.
starting the session, you ruined it.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, out you go.
Okay.
Okay. Oh no! I forgot the sieve. Oh my God. Ah! I can't- It's just determined to steep itself for 4 minutes.
It's just like
Tea has a mind of its own.
that's
Okay.
awesome.
I can't figure it out. It's so funny.
It's gonna be okay. The tea, I bet you it's a lot more forgiving than you might think. Like
Yeah.
I don't think that the difference between 2 seconds and 10 seconds is gonna be massive. Like there'll be definitely difference in flavor, but you're not gonna make it undrinkable.
Yeah, I think that 15 seconds made it. It was more like 20. It's not or 30. It like made it really strong.
Well,
But this was about 15 seconds after all the commotion.
because I brewed longer because it took me a long time to fill my pot because I was using that fellow kettle there. And
Yeah.
so I was like easily 10 seconds of filling, or 5 seconds at least. And then the draining out of the tea also takes a while. So, and you're doing
This
like
is phenomenal.
everything fairly quickly. What's that?
Oh, sorry. I didn't. This is phenomenal. It's the second steep,
As a
15.5 seconds.
nice
It's-
to the millisecond. This is really nice as it cools too. Like I'm tasting a lot more. You know, I always find that interesting. That obviously there's going to be particulate in here that I can't see, but even in a very clean cup like this, there's such a flavor development that happens as we get closer to the tea. So you guys have lost the video of me, but you can probably still hear my voice, hey?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to try and fix that. But you want to maybe here, why don't I do this? Let's go to this camera. I don't want people to see all my lovely email stuff. Okay, let's add. Anyway,
This one, sorry, this one's like really phenomenal. This second steep with the 15.5 seconds.
what are you tasting?
It's so sweet. It's like this. You know how when you go walk in the forest and it has a sweet aroma?
Yeah.
It's like that, and it's like that's what I like. Whenever I come home, I'm like, I can't wait to go walk in the forest and smell the ponderosa pines or something. You know?
And that's
It's almost like that sweetness is now in the tea.
this is
Yeah, I get that.
interesting. I don't think I'm going to be able to get you guys back on my video. We'll have to do the session with just my audio. This audience can see me and they can see you. You just can't see me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I might be able to make it work in a little bit. Can you? What are you tasting on this one here, Maki? And what are you also? What is your suggestion for the second infusion?
Well, for me, it's gonna be about the same as the first one. She's already steeped a whole bunch, so probably a little bit longer for you.
So you're gonna do like a another like flash infusion, and
Yeah, another pretty quick one.
so this is the Gong Fu style, right?
Yeah.
So for those watching, Gong Fu is the same Chinese characters as Kung Fu, which is kind of cool, and and it's just it's a style of brewing tea where you do these really hot, high dose flash infusions, and it's really a way to enjoy a wide variety of teas. in a very similar manner. Do you find that do you drop your temperature for any of the teas that you work with? Like your greens, are you working with boiling water for most of your, say, Japanese greens? Even?
I boil everything Chinese. I find anything that's Chinese and it's good quality, they have big leaves most of the time, they're gonna typically be fine at boiling temperatures. I don't drink a lot of Japanese greens because I don't really know how to brew them.
Okay, so that's like a weakness of the technique, perhaps.
Yeah.
You know, oh, interesting. What I found is that a lot of people that get really used to the technique that they always work with have an easier time working with teas that they always work with, which makes sense, right? So I find in North America where the norm is to make crimson or black teas English style with like a small amount of leaf with a lot of liquid and long brewing times and hot temperatures, they end up using that same methodology for all the tea that they drink, and it without having a particular type of tea, it ends up being not very good, right? Especially on your greens, etc. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I think I got video.
Hey, there
Okay,
you are.
awesome. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's resolved. I'm gonna do that second infusion as well. Sharon's doing the third. You guys are all over your infusions. Okay. I'm really tasting that cinnamon note, hey? That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I wanted to do was to brew in a completely different vessel, the same tea, same style, and see, you know, if we were tasting like how much of the flavor is in the teapot and how much of it is in the tea. You know, how much is that tea extraction being impacted by the teapot? Do you have another teapot that you can use that maybe isn't like it's not like either it's glazed on the inside or it's glass and is small?
Yeah, I got something. Good. This little guy's pretty cool.
Should I try this huge one while you do the small one?
You could do that. You could do that. But I would love you to use similar ratios. So still weigh it out and
Oh yeah.
all that fun stuff. Okay.
Let's see how this goes on this tiny scale.
So I have
So
oh, go ahead.
Oh, so what are the ratios for this time?
We're going to do the same ratios.
And same amount of time, like
Same amount of
few
time.
seconds?
Yeah, we're going to just see what the role of the teapot is in that end flavor.
Okay. Are we doing a rinse again?
We sure are. We're going to do everything the
Yeah.
same.
Okay, cool.
So I should let Maki guide this. Okay, Maki, I am doing 5.5 grams again. Last time you said do 5 grams because my teapot was slightly smaller, but I kind of figured that mine could probably fit 140 grams, so I ended up doing 5.5 grams like you did.
All right.
And here we are. That's a nice third infusion. Or is that my second
hot
infusion?
chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it reminds me of like something though, like a Mayan style, like some chilies or
Yeah.
there's something spicy in the hot chocolate. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. Yeah, for sure.
That's fantastic. Okay. And then here I am doing the Gaiwan. So I'm gonna do similar idea. 140 grams if it'll fit. Hopefully it will. I think I might have should have checked that before. Note to viewers: check your amount of water volume you can fit before you start your brew.
Yeah.
If you're weighing stuff. I mean, a lot of people don't weigh stuff. You don't weigh anything regularly, right, Maki? Or do you use a scale?
I typically weigh my leaves.
Okay.
That's it.
You know what I got to get you one of these days, man? Is if I were to ever give Maki a present, it would be the same analog scale that Mr. Takaki uses. He puts a 5 yen coin on one side of the analog scale that weighs exactly 5 grams, because all Japanese 5 yen coins weigh 5 grams. And then he measures out then he puts the leaves on using that analog scale to get his 5 grams. It's so awesome.
That's awesome.
Okay. All right.
You know, I definitely, my favorite so far was the small teapot, the last one I just did.
Yeah.
This one's good. It has a different flavor with this big, huge teapot.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I love doing these empirical tests. I often say to people, if you don't taste any difference, then don't care. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, you could find that in 2 years from now, in your tea drinking journey, that you start to taste differences in extraction from different vessels that you didn't otherwise taste. And that's okay. Make those changes when you can taste the difference. But if you can't taste the difference, then why bother? But if you can taste the difference, then bother, right?
That sounds like a commercial slogan.
You know,
taste the difference. If you can't, don't worry about it.
I gotta get that on camera. Oh, wait a minute. That was on camera. So this is a lot like, I'm drinking it too hot for sure, but I can already taste like a tightness to it. Like there's been a lot less opportunity for like it tastes almost like too hot, you know? And I think I have almost too much thermal stability in this guy versus this guy.
Yeah. My tea leaves, there's a few tea leaves in here, and interestingly, it's getting a little bit more like the first steep, just with these like tiny bits of tea leaves, I guess, continuing to steep.
That would make sense. Yeah, that's over extraction.
But it tastes really good that way because it's tasting, because maybe because I did it in such a big teapot, it isn't very flavorful.
This is cooling really nicely, like really nicely.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
super nice.
That first pot of tea I said had the kind of a duality to the flavor, like a wave that was mostly focused on the sweetness and didn't have a lot of acidity. This first steep out of the Gaiwan is actually really, really complex, and like it has that chocolate kind of creamy character of this tea, but it also has the acid that I want.
Mine just became a magic. It just became like a chocolate magic.
Interesting.
Just with with it cooling.
Huh. Yeah, that's amazing. Chocolate magic. There's another commercial. Yep. We got all. Yeah. we got so many product names. We're just gonna write these down and we're gonna patent them. It's gonna be amazing. We won't call it Koucha Zairaishu by Kawakami anymore. The new name for this tea, Chocolate Magic. We got
Chocolate Magical Forest.
Chocolate Magical Forest. Sounds like a drug. That's really funny. Oh man. Now it's interesting as it's cooling even further, Mackie. I'm getting some hot water notes in the finish. It's actually like the finish isn't developing as nicely as the selection that I made in the teapot.
That's interesting.
Are you tasting any differences between the two teapots here on your end?
I have not even. I'm boiling some more water. I'm not there yet.
Oh, okay. Racing ahead here, are we? Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good.
You were so patient and waited for us to start our extraction before. Look at us.
So we could rave about it.
Oh.
Mine just keeps getting better. I don't know what's going on.
Is that okay? I want mine to get better. It's gonna get better.
I don't know if it's because these little leaves are in there, just continually extracting over and over again, but just a little bit, a little bit.
It makes sense. It does make sense. You know,
I hope I'm not making you jealous.
Neener. Okay. We have. I like to You see those? Those are, I showed these on a previous JagaVision, but Mackie, those are two different sieves that I'll often use for cutting the steep. And if you're cutting a say a Japanese green tea that you've brewed full immersion, and you want to cut that extraction, if you cut it through this one, which has it's so fine you can barely see through it. Sorry, there's your camera. Yeah. You actually get a really flat flavor. Like, it's not nearly as interesting as if you do it through the coarse sieve. The coarse sieve, though, gets you a lot more sediment, which is arguably a bad thing. But it does depend on the region, the tea style, and so many things, right?
That's actually why I stopped using a strainer. Like, I noticed some of the time it just wasn't tasting as good as it was without it.
It makes sense, right? Yeah.
Oh, I didn't use a strainer for this one.
That's great. If you can just hold the leaves back and then pour into the cup by using like the lid or like a plate or something. Yeah, a plate. Or ideally you have a filter built into your little teapot that's made out of ceramic. Then you're going to be in a good place. Yeah.
I wonder if part of this magical chocolate forest experience is due to this cup. It's actually more of like a clay cup.
That would make sense. Is it finished? Like, is it glazed?
No, it's not glazed.
Okay,
it's
then.
Like,
yeah, that would make sense.
Having a big impact.
Yeah.
It's mixed with the. I just keep enjoying this extremely. my English just. It's so good that I lost my ability to speak in formal sentences.
Tea drunk. Yeah, that's actually an expression. When you.
I also went to bed at like 6 a.m. this morning. 6:01.
Oh.
Oh my god, I was up before you were asleep.
Normally I'm more around midnight, but last night was
It was a long night.
Strange. Yeah.
There you go. Sounds like my Sunday.
Oh really? Okay. I can't. I'm sorry. I sound like I'm obsessive at this point, but it just got even better.
There's so many moments. I need to make a clip of this video and just like do these like little. This is gonna be great. That's. Ready for this, guys? It just got even better. My infusion through the clay teapot, big difference. I think I want to touch on that point though. Like I think that the unfinished clay cup and how important of a role that's going to play. Another thing you can do is if you drink out of silver or if you drink out of like certain kinds of copper, the metal can actually really have an impact on the end flavor as well, which is fascinating. And but these and the clay, the style, right? The region of the clay is definitely going to have an impact. So it doesn't only have to, and I guess this is what I'm trying to say, is it's not only what you're extracting in, but also what you're drinking out of is going to have a role to play in how delicious or non-delicious your extractions are going to be, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like the cup actually has like a really big impact. I've noticed, like even just the shape of different porcelain cups or different thicknesses.
Yeah, like
different clay cups.
Like how the liquid where the liquid hits your tongue. So even if you like work with the same cup too, even like how you drink out of the cup is going to impact how you experience the flavor of the tea, right?
Yeah.
So
like if you pour it all over yourself, it's going to taste a lot different.
Yeah, it looks like shower in tea. Yeah, yeah. You'll get some nice aromatics. They'll be with you all day. It's going to be...
Hey, actually, green teas specifically, and some black teas, they can be really good for your skin. So.
And when people tell you that you smell, you can tell them, no, it's my wet fragrance.
From crimson.
Yeah.
I could use all these leaves to make an iced tea, but I could also just put them all in the bath, too.
You could. Actually, tea baths are amazing. I often tell people when their matcha is older to throw it into the bath because they shouldn't be drinking it because it's not going to taste very good, but it's going to be good for their skin. So when it's older than
with Epsom salts, or sorry, I think I
with Epsom salts is amazing. Yeah, and herbal.
Cool.
There's herbal tea baths where you can actually like make like an herbal sort of like you can tie them into a cheesecloth and you can just drop them into your bath and you can steep the bath and you can hang out in it, and you can do the same thing with tea. The polyphenols in the tea is really good for your skin.
How about, I don't see it happen too much with black or crimson teas. It's mostly herbal or green for baths. Is crimson okay?
Crimson, there's just a general societal hate on for crimson teas. They're very good for you. I often tell people the reason why green tea is so good for you is because so much research has been done on green tea. Yeah. You know, yeah, it's like tea in general is really good for you. That being said, the L-theanine that's in a higher concentration in green teas is a tranquilizer, and as a result, the way that you experience the caffeine that's in the tea is going to be a lot slower release in your green teas than in your crimson or black teas. Right? But even different types of crimson teas, different cultivars are going to have a different way of interacting with your nervous system. Like you're going to find some teas are a little bit harsher. Like I find broken tea leaves hit my system with a little bit more force than full leaf, really carefully prepared tea leaves. They're a lot more, like they hit my body with a little bit more of a cushion. I don't know. It could be placebo, but that's just what I experience. Are we gonna do a second infusion of the second teapot, or are we gonna? Where are we at? What do you guys want to do?
I'm about ready to do my first here.
Okay. Oh yeah, you were waiting for your water to boil. Okay. All right. We're gonna hang out with you. Let's do another. Let's get even more tea drunk, Cherianne.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to just start doing little sips.
Yeah, you do that. You do that, or you'll be up until like 3 days from now, and you don't want that.
Oh, I've already got my iced tea in the works. I've got one ready to put cold water into, and this is the extra brew, so I actually haven't drank it all.
Okay.
I've been doing little sips because I had a matcha earlier, so I just do like I did drink the whole one of the last one though.
Know your limit and play within it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The chocolate forest experience I couldn't put down though.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. You were like dancing in the woods. Okay. So, what can you tell us about the second teapot that you're working with there, Maki?
Oh.
Did you just
just drop my leaves everywhere?
Oh, that's what I did earlier.
He's created yeah,
okay. I'll just get that later.
Oh no. Poor Maki. Getting that last golden drop. Okay. There we go. Okay. So, just gonna pour that. Get another sip. That's really hot out of the Gaiwan. I'm actually kind of surprised. Like, just the intense temperature increase in the Gaiwan versus my little teapot here.
Probably helps since it's a little bigger.
But I am using like the same amount of liquid, which I find shocking because like those to me, like it's like night and day. Like this one in my right hand just looks so much larger than this little teapot in my left hand. You know?
Yeah.
And yet they hold like comfortably, like where like the lid just barely covers the liquid kind of idea. They both, their max volume is exactly the same, 140 grams. Huh.
Are we doing a fourth teapot now?
No, I was just doing the second steep of the third teapot.
Oh, okay.
Huh. This is a really fun way to drink this tea. I'm impressed that we're able to drink this Japanese crimson in this Chinese style.
You could have fooled me that this was Chinese tea.
Yeah, hey? Huh.
Oh, is it? Oh, you would have thought it was a Chinese tea, not Japanese tea?
I said that kind of weird, yeah.
It's like almost a riddle in there. I got it.
Are you doing a shaky shake? Is that what's going on?
I'm trying to get the leaves down so when I pour the water in, it'll hit them.
Ah, makes sense.
Because it's such a huge teapot.
Yeah, I kind of like when I'm pouring the water in, I sort of use the water to make the leaves.
Oh, okay.
So I'll like I'll turn the teapot as I'm pouring without pouring boiling water over my hands. It's quite a dexterous maneuver, but.
Yeah. I'm gonna grab a little spoon though because it's too high up.
Fair. So what is your some people are really convinced that having metal in the teapot is gonna have a really profoundly bad effect on the. I mentioned this earlier in the talk, but I just wanted. You said you don't use a filter, and the big reason is you find that the flavor is better without, right?
For like a strainer, yeah, like I would put on top of the chocolate. I used to have one of those when I was just starting out. But I think it was just because you weren't getting all the particles in there.
It makes sense to me. Now, some people think that the metal in the extraction is going to cause an acidification of the liquid, and I've always felt that way, but now I really enjoy this Koucha, this Japanese teapot that I was showing you earlier, and it has that metal filter in there. And I'm kind of surprised at how much I enjoy the tea out of it, that I'm not tasting a noticeable increase in acid. And I guess all along, maybe it was just placebo. I don't know. Do you find that brewing with a metal filter in the teapot has impacted teas for you in a negative way in the past?
I don't think it's ever been because of the metal filter. Like I say, I only have one. I lost track of my teapots. Oh, here it is. This guy here. This is like a really old. Apparently, it's from the '80s. A teapot. I think it's a factory pot.
Okay.
But it has like a mismatched lid, so it was really cheap.
Nice.
I don't think it's actually that good. I got it from the Chinese tea shop.
Oh no. Well,
it does have like a little metal filter in it, like one of the removable ones, like all the old pots do.
Oh, okay, yeah, kind of like this. This one has a metal filter in the tip.
Yeah, it's just like that.
It's similar. Okay.
But this clay is like super porous and just takes all the aromas out of my teas, and I don't think it's because of the metal filter. I really haven't had much time to experiment with that because this is the only pot I have, and I really not use it anymore.
It makes sense. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I'm a wholesaler, right? So I often see a lot of different setups for different shops and stuff, and I find that that the ones that are really that I'm not super supportive of are whenever they're putting the tea into a tea bag, for sure. I feel like that strips off the oils from the tea, and you don't get, and it also blocks the tea from proper extraction, and you're giving up the opportunity to give the customer a finished extraction, which I think is important if you want to understand what it is they're drinking. So there's a lot of reasons why I'm not pro tea bag, where I'm, but I'm also not really into like cylinders or tea balls or anything like that because similar reasons. At least you're going to get the oils off of the tea, right? But they're going to block the tea from spinning with convection currents to properly extract flavor during this process called jumping, right? And I was just, obviously, so your tea career, I put you as a collector. That's it says
fine. I'm a professional.
So you're a collector of teapots and teas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have just skipped that part of the process of like tea cylinders and tea balls and tea bags, or how did you get to this? Like, I hate to go into this area because you're in a pretty I think it's an ideal place to be, where you have these beautiful clay teapots, you have these beautiful teas. I think anybody that's going to have tea with maki is going to come away with, they're going to be like, that was awesome, right? But yeah, just wondering if you've interacted with that, what I'm talking about right now, and your thoughts.
I mean, yeah, of course, there was like a time when I didn't even know that any of this stuff existed. I think I had my first actual tea bag in like grade 11. We had this, like, our chemistry teacher would like provide us with tea bags during class and like some hot water at the back in a kettle, and I was just like, why wouldn't I just have some? I'll just have some. And I started drinking it like every day, and it was just like Earl Grey crap, but like, I mean, like, really curious, I guess, because there was a few different types, and I wanted to know like what more types there were. And then I started doing the David's tea, Vanna stuff. And then I guess I just started reading more online, found out about all these Chinese things, and probably just went to like the Chinese tea shop once and then never looked back.
So David was your inspiration into this world then?
He was part of it. I'm not sure if it was. I think I got my first Gaiwan in Victoria, actually, but.
Oh, cool. Okay, nice.
Oh.
Huh. And again, for the viewers, Gaiwan is this guy. It's like the cup with the little lid on it that embeds on the inside. Yeah. Mackie has a much nicer one.
Mine's very tiny.
It's awesome.
a little baby. It's like 50 mils.
Really? 15 milliliter
Yeah.
Gaiwan? That's like a little thimble. That's
50.
awesome. Do you do 1 gram teas in it, or what do we...
This one I did about 2 in here.
Amazing. That's awesome. I want a little 15 milliliter teapot. That's great.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get over caffeinated on that, Sherry-Ann. You'd just be like, I'm on my
Yeah,
11th infusion, and I've just consumed 100 grams.
Oh,
This is really great.
Sorry.
Listen.
It's 50, not 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 50.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I was so excited. Like half a tablespoon, like Gaiwan. Like, wow. Forced perspective.
no.
It's like a thimble teapot.
Here, I have a thimble teapot.
Oh yeah, you do.
Oh,
That's awesome. Is that your smallest teapot?
Yeah, it's not. It's more for display. It was like really cheap, and it's not clay that I would want to drink out of. It's just super cute. You know?
Can you talk to our viewers about what that would mean? Clay you don't want to drink out of.
I don't know how I can show you the inside of this teapot, but it's basically black inside.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you can see. Oh, there it is. Right
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's gross. Like, and the clay feels almost rubbery on the outside.
Kind of.
That's generally a really bad sign.
Interesting. Probably it's probably contaminants in the clay when they were made into the teapot. Hey.
Yeah, and this was also like $15, so that's another bad sign.
What is a quality teapot? What is your price range that you want to start with when you're looking?
You could probably get good teapots for like $100. It really depends on the region. This one here that I was talking about, my first teapot, I think it was $65 or $70 at the Chinese tea shop. And
That's how much this one cost me.
really
This
nice
was a $75 teapot.
Yeah, and like with them, I mean, it's like everything's good, but if you're buying it from somewhere else, probably like $100. But like if you're buying like one of these, this is from Qingzhou. It's a Nishing pot. They're not as common, and they don't have like the fame behind them that Yixing has. You can probably get one of these for like $70 or $80.
How much is an Yixing teapot, a good one, or authentic Yixing, gonna set you back?
Yixing, yeah, as much as you want to be set back, honestly. Like there are some that are more expensive than cars. Like you can spend as much as you. A lot of it depends on how famous the artist is. Like if you can find like a not famous artist who's using really high quality clay, it's probably going to be like $200 or $300 for like the max. But I don't know, some artists get super famous and then they charge like $25,000 for a single pot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
And you have lots of those, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're in the other room.
Yeah. They're just they're in my puer cave.
Do you have any recommendations? I found this at a garage sale, the whole tea set, and it was in the box, and it said it was authentic Japanese tea set.
Okay. You know, like
Yeah, if it's unglazed, I mean, everything's going to be totally fine, usually.
I'm a little
I
nervous.
mean, sorry,
about the glaze.
glaze. That's what I mean. The glazes are usually completely fine. They're basically just like getting rid of most of the interaction with like the minerals in the clay aren't really going to happen because of the glaze most of the time. It's like so it's going to be pretty much like brewing with glass or porcelain or whatever.
And in food service, we have to brew in glazed teapots or in glass or something that's finished. To brew in clay is considered something that we're not supposed to do.
Wow, okay.
And they're very careful with that with the health authority. They ask us also not only if the pottery we're working with is glazed, but they want to make sure that the ingredients of the glaze are non-leaching. So we're very careful to work with and with products that are non-leaching. Now, that being said,
I'm nervous about this being leaching. How do I know?
You don't really know, but you can get because you don't know the producer, so you can't ask them for lab tests. But if you did know the producer, you could ask them for lab tests.
I have the box.
Well, if you can find
shows
out who the company was, then you could potentially write them and ask them if they have laboratory analysis of the glazes that were used to seal that teapot.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and that's one way of asking. Not everybody has access to this information, but a lot of the times, especially if it's okay to sell in Canada, you're going to be okay. But I think there's a lot of room for wiggle room where things are less ideal than you would want them to be. Yeah. Anyway, okay. We've gotten to the end of the show today, but I just wanted to give you a chance to just maybe talk a little bit about the tea, about the teapots, and chance to say goodbye to everybody who's watching. If you wanted to start first there, Mackie?
Yeah, I guess I didn't really get a chance to talk about this third steep here.
Yeah, well, I'm
Or
so
the
sorry.
third teapot.
Yeah. You're about
It's
to
all
drink it
good.
now. Let's drink it now. We'll put the goodbyes on pause for a moment. Let's extend things for about 3 to 4 minutes here.
All right.
Oh yeah, and I'm drinking my I have an infusion here that's like Sherry Ann's, where it has some sediment in the decanter, and
Yeah.
or the grandfather style, sort of a hybrid, hybrid grandfather tea.
That's usually how it goes. I have a few in mine as well.
Nice. Yeah. And if they're standing straight up in the cup, it's considered good luck. But yeah, what are you tasting there, man?
I noticed my first steep was a little brighter, a little bit like lighter, kind of softer. This one tastes pretty similar to how the second steep from the teapot tasted.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Even though one was clay and one was glazed.
Yeah, there's just something like at the back that tastes a little bit more like my water did.
Uh-huh. I noticed that with my guy one too.
Yeah, that I definitely didn't get with the teapot. Maybe it's not as quite as full of a body as well, but
I'm so curious.
I'm feeling that too. It's like not quite as full of a body as the what did I steep it in this time? Oh, I'm doing the second steep, right? Yeah, it still tastes delicious. It's just that last experience I'll just remember for a long time. So
it's good.
this one's really good too. It's a little bit less of a full flavor. I lost a little bit of the sweetness.
Yeah. Yeah, and what you were experiencing there, Sharon, is massive differences in brewing volume, right? Like in terms of the container that you're brewing in, or the vessel you're brewing in. And then what we're comparing, Mackie and I are comparing, is the difference between brewing in an unglazed teapot versus a glazed vessel.
Right.
Right, and both experiments, the one that you're doing in your space there, and the one that we're doing, is proving to create definitely different extractions. And how much of that is because the teapot is sealed versus unsealed for us, and how much of that is to do with how much air is in your teapot for your big container versus the material? Maybe there's some sort of interaction with the glaze, even though there shouldn't be. But yeah, we don't really know, but it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's great to just get to know your own tea wares.
Yeah.
It looks so beautiful. This tea, I'm trying to pin down what it reminds me of. There's something in there that's like a there's a food that I'm struggling to find. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I'm feeling that too.
Yeah. Okay, those that want to drink this tea, it is on our website. You can go to the reserve teas and you can check out Koucha Zairaishu. It's from the Kawakamis. Again, it's one that my wife and I harvested and were part of the process. When you're brewing it at home, do we have a verdict here? I personally prefer the unglazed teapot by, I'd say 20%, if I was going to make it a percentage.
Yeah, that's how I'd brew it for me as well.
Yeah, it seems like obviously your teapot, what clay you use is going to play a role. The color of clay, the fact of whether or not it's a natural clay versus a laboratory-produced mineral clay. You know, understanding the toxins that you perhaps are exposing yourself to is important too. And being careful whether it's glazed or not, I think, is some of the takeaways from today. But yeah, Mackie, sorry, do you want to give your thoughts before we part here?
This tea was a really nice surprise. Thank you for sending me this.
No worries.
I don't know if I have many parting thoughts. This is pretty much what I was expecting, other than how you did it, which was quite different.
There you go. Yeah. It's more of like a cafe style, is what I like to call it. You know, we're working with the whole crimson tea with a low dose. Isn't that interesting how much flavor we got out of it, though? Like, did you enjoy that extraction?
I did enjoy it, yeah. It had, like, everything in it.
Yeah.
And it was, like, maybe even more complex.
Then I really like playing with I love learning from different farmers. What was fascinating to me, we did a cup. It's on our YouTube channel, but we did a Friday cupping last week where we had sencha selections from all over Japan, from 8 different farmers that were all alumni of the Shizuoka Tea University, and have their own companies, and they get together annually. And one of the members of this kind of society or group of friends is Takaki-san, the fellow who was on the show last week, and I was just impressed with how different the brewing parameters were from even region to region in the same country. You know, so I think that there's just so much room to play with flavor extraction when we start analyzing weights of tea, amounts of water, temperature of water, and now add to that equation, of course, and also extraction time, but add to that equation the vessels that not only that we're brewing in, but what we're drinking out of, hey? Yeah, really interesting.
Even what you're boiling your water in, I think, matters too, and potentially this if you've got something different than glass.
Yeah, 1000%. And you know, I'm on that note, I'm boiling in stainless steel. And glass is arguably going to be even better than this for sure. But this gives me temperature variability, so I can adjust to what I need. Also, what's nice is it's a stainless steel lid, and I think that's important too. Sometimes with glassware, for kettles, they don't have that beautiful lid that you have there. They'll have a plastic lid. And
bamboo. It gives off a little bit of like a bamboo smell, and I can sometimes taste that in the it's kind of weird, but
and hopefully it's good bamboo, right? And it might be glazed, not glazed, sealed bamboo, where it's been sealed with some sort of wooden sealer, like it, and that's gonna definitely, you know, that's gonna impart something. And I think that plastic lids on our kettles will impart a little bit of the plastic flavor. Metal lids are gonna hopefully be the least, you know, they're not gonna have any sort of interaction. It would be interesting to boil the water without the lid on, or using a different lid, or like, you know, I had
tried that. It doesn't seem to get to a full rolling boil ever if I do that.
If it just
heat properly. But
it's a beautiful teapot, or sorry, kettle. You know, there's pros and cons and everything. Like, I'm arguably totally acidifying my water, so you know, who knows what's best. I think glass though is the most non-reactive. If we could have a glass kettle with a glass top. Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
It's like unglazed Japanese clay, and they imported to Jingdezhen and then made there. But I used to use this every time, but it has like a small crack in the bottom now, and I can't really use it anymore.
Aw, that's too bad, eh? And your tea, every tea is now gonna be impacted based off of the kettle. But you know what? I find that probably the big role player, more than even the kettle we're boiling in, is the water that we're working with, right? And like, that's the huge percentage, and understanding just how big of a role that plays in the finished flavor.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. Sister Speak, do you have any parting words that you want to share with us?
Delicious tea. Thanks for all your hard work helping to pick it.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. No, it was 7 a.m. To 6 p.m. and it was interesting. They did that.
Oh.
And then the next day was the processing of it. But they'd done it before us. We actually finished early, actually. We were supposed to do 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., that's right. And then we stayed overnight the night before, but they'd picked for 2 days before we got there. And there was a big enough group of us that we were able to finish everything by 3 p.m. that day. And we were like, oh, wow, that's kind of nice.
Oh.
So we only did 6 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Ah, that's still a lot of picking time.
Yeah. It was
and that's awesome. And Mackie, thank you for showing us all your amazing amazing pots. Teapots are
This is fun.
special.
Super enjoyable, and I look forward to when it does happen, when we have Maki here at the tea festival that will eventually happen. Jaga Silk will be involved. I'm also the director of the International Tea Appreciation Society, which you can look up on Facebook. And Maki, I think we twisted his arm to be an honorary member. I don't know. Is he part of the tea system? I don't know. Yeah. We're working on that. There's no cost involved. It's just you get to say I'm a part of it, and that's all it is. it's very anarchist. The festival that was put on by the Tea Society, and this year's was canceled due to COVID, but we're hoping that we can get it either later in the year or we'll have to reschedule to 2021. It's the 7th annual tea festival done in Nuka-Court. We call it the Victoria Tea Festival Revival, as there was a tea festival that existed before that is now defunct here in Victoria. But yeah, Sherry-Ann from Sister Speak, you can check her out. Go to patreon.com/sisterspeak to follow her on Patreon for her live shows. sisterspeakmusic.com. You have that new live album that came out?
Yes.
Yeah, this is I wish I had the vinyl with me. You also have it on vinyl, which is pretty exciting. I had a question. Somebody wants to buy the vinyl. What do they do?
sisterspeakmusic.com/shop.
Shop. Okay, and they can buy it right on your website. Amazing. Okay,
Yep.
cool. And then Maki, if people want to follow you on Instagram, what is your Instagram again? Did we lose you? Hello. I think we might have lost you. I can't hear audio from Maki. Are you there? No? Sister Speak, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm gonna look up the Instagram for him.
Okay. It is at Maki Tea Life. So it's
okay.
at Maki _ Tea Life. Are you there now, Maki? Oh, that's too bad. I think. Oh, there we go.
Tea Life.
Okay, we can hear you now. Amazing. Okay. So yeah, if you want to check him out, please do. And we look forward to seeing.
One word.
What is it? Tea Life is one word, I think he said. Okay, awesome. All right, thank you so much.
My computer's.
Okay, it sounds like his computer is glitching out. So,
hello.
We can kind of hear you in spots. But thank you very much, Maki, for coming on the show.
I can hear you.
I can hear you now. We're good. Oh, can you hear me? I love how this happens when we're saying goodbye. It's great.
It's a Canadian goodbye. My friends joke because they say take forever to say goodbye.
That's what it is. Yeah, we're taking. I think we're taking 15 minutes to say goodbye. So thank you guys for coming on the show. Huge appreciation. Enjoy the rest of your steeps there. There's a good 5 or 6 infusions you can get out of them. And we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Cool. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, we can hear you now, man. Bye.
Yeah. Sorry.
There we go. Okay, so a big thank you to everybody. That was a little bit of a elongated goodbye there. But we had a lot of fun brewing 3 different teas. Well, the same tea, 3 different teapots, and talking about that interaction with extraction. Thanks for hanging in there. We really appreciate you. We'll see you again next week. 1 p.m. we're going to have Jonathan Harris joining us. He's from Johnny Bean in Lethbridge. I've been talking about some conversations that I had with him quite a bit, as it's sort of a fascinating topic, where on the Barista Guild YouTube channel there's some videos on water that have been really interesting to watch from different scientists and people in the field, and just talking about bicarbonate and magnesium and calcium and the role that the composition of total dissolved solids have in extraction. It's just been super fascinating. So we're going to be talking about that next week. So hope to see you there. 1 p.m. Jaga Silk has our own YouTube channel. You're watching it right now. youtube.com/JagaSilk. Hit the subscribe button. Check out the show highlights that are going to be coming up soon on the YouTube channel. You can also check out on our YouTube channel the different preparation videos. Go on to our website, jagasilk.com, and you can find the teas that we're drinking. You can also on the top page see some previews of what's going to happen in terms of the guests that are going to be on the coming week and teas that are going to be featured, that kind of thing. So looking forward to seeing you there. Thanks for hanging in there. Have a wonderful day, and goodbye.